Looks like I got all the parts printed out finally, successfully. I had a few failures. I haven't yet knocked out the supports. I've gotten a few of the parts cleaned up, just test fitting things. Now, I printed these up on edge like that. I printed these out of ABS. Now, I'm going to use that to my advantage. I can easily use ABS cement to bring these back together. But one of the problems with ABS is it does shrink a lot. And that caused some little hairline cracks or separations of the layers in a few places. Almost identical on both models, or both halves. That's not a big deal. I'm just going to wipe over that with some ABS cement and let it seep in. And then I can just sand that off. I printed these on a really quick setting because with as much sanding as I'm going to have to do to them, this outside box anyways, I don't really need the layer lines to be fine because I'm going to sand those off. And I give it a coat of actual automotive primer, lacquer based. Now, lacquer is just a less refined version of acetone, and we know that acetone will melt ABS plastic, so that's going to create a nice permanent bond, and it should make this outer shell here a lot more durable, because it'll end up melting all these outer layers together into a single solid skin. But first up, I'm going to get all these structural supports knocked out and get it glued up together. A couple things to note: because of the shrinkage, my faceplate actually fits rather tight, so I'm going to have to do quite a bit of sanding down here and up in here and in these corners in order to get that to fit properly on both the front and back. All it's turned out pretty good. I've already, been fiddling and test fitting some pieces like the needle. A little needle pulley here. I did rework a few things. Let me put this back up. Just for cutting it in half the way I did, I wanted to have some extra strength up here. So I added another block. I went back and redid the model. I just put a few holes in it instead of just having it cut out over top here. So that added some strength for printing it this way. And let's see here. On the buttons, I redid the blocks so that they'll be a little bit further apart at the base. The first attempt printed out with the square blocks was okay, but they were kind of touching and interfering with each other when you'd actually push the buttons. So I redid that a little bit. And let's see here. I did make these buttonholes a little bit larger, just so the buttons would have more room to slide in and out. But all in all, it's pretty close. You can see where I've sort of fit it in here and it scrubs a little bit. I'm going to have to sand this down until these fit. I think I'm going to do that before I glue the two halves together, just to make it easier on myself. And then once I get that, I'll get it glued together, and then I'll do some finish sanding and fix any of the little imperfections. All right, I got the pieces all fit together. I had to dig out the corners up front here quite a bit, especially up here because of how warped it got because of the shrinkage. Same thing over here, not quite as bad. Got this knob sitting in place with one of the spare tuner pieces I made. Got our needle in there on the pulley. I'm going to use double-sided tape to hold this back where it's supposed to be, because it does kind of stick out a little bit. Had to do about the same amount of fitting in the back. It's just held together with pressure right now. See, this fell off when I was turning it. So yeah, it's nice to see it finally printed out. Okay, so we got our tuner here and our buttons. nothing's actually held in place yet. I haven't done the piece that goes across there. All that'll get done after I get sanded, primed, and painted. You can see just how little infill I actually printed in here. It was so warped I had to cut completely through the top layer. It's not a big deal because I think with this ABS I can actually probably just spread a little bit of body filler in there and sand it down flush and smooth, and nobody will ever know. I can do the same thing with the corners of the front of the radio. But yeah, it looks like it's just about ready. All the holes are lined up, two halves line up nice and flush. Everything fits in there. So I'm quite happy with it. You can tell this is the knob I've been tinkering with this whole time. This one's just been sitting in the box, so eventually this will wear down to look just as worn as this one. I still got to do the piece of acrylic or polycarbonate to stick in here. Haven't exactly figured out how I'm going to cause it to bow. I'm probably going to make a sort of mold this shape. Might put a piece of cardboard there and get taped up the right shape. Lay the polycarbonate on top and just heat it with a heat gun, and hopefully it'll sag down on its own to make a slight bubble. I just gotta get that in there. But up next for this is going to be to take it out to the garage, get it glued up. I want to get the two halves finally glued together completely. And I'm going to fill in these places where the layers are coming apart with some ABS cement. And I'll finally go around and get it sanded all smooth, and then get the automotive primer on it. Like I said, in these corners where I've had to dig through the top surface layer, I'll put a little bit of body filler in there, just to give me something to sand smooth. I mean, you won't be able to see it when it's all together, but I kind of dug out a little too deep in a few places here, and it'll let me get that straightened back out the way it should look. But all in all, I'm happy with it. That pulley will do a little bit better once it's actually on the tuner dial. Right now, the way the pulley's pulling back against the needle here. Now, I do have a little insert I've designed in Photoshop. I'll cut you an image of that in the video to show you what I've got going on that I plan on printing out. I haven't found a piece of paper I want to use. I'm looking for something kind of like the manila paper used to have in kindergarten, but a little bit slicker. I might have to go look at some stationery and see if I can find a piece that I can run through the laser printer to print my design on it. I want to make it look like the Fallout, but because this is an FM radio, I still want the dial to actually be functional and have the right numbers in the right locations. So I actually got some images of some older Crosley radios and Zenith radios, and I made an appropriate dial face with an old Crosley design for the centerpiece, so that'll look cool.